What is up, alienARMy? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic, we are going to be talking about Lilith. I'm not sure exactly where this is going to go, but basically, Lilith came through yesterday and wanted me to channel some shit, so that's what we're doing. I do have another video on what Lilith means astrologically, so if you do want to check that out, it's somewhere in my channel, or just Google or type in YouTube Oculus, what does Lilith mean, and you will find it. So that is the video discussing Lilith astrologically. Here we are going to be discussing Lilith energetically. Lilith as just an energy is an aspect of the divine feminine. So no matter what your gender identity is, everyone has within the masculine energy and feminine energy. I have a few other videos where I talk about different polarities regarding the same thing, only it's a different degree. This is also a concept that is explained very well in the book, The Kybalion. So Lilith as an energy is feminine in nature. Now, if you want to look at the feminine energy, which also translates to subconscious mind within the human being psyche, we have two poles of feminine energy, which is the same thing but a different degree. So at one end of the pole we have Eve, the archetype Eve energy, which is more of a submissive feminine, and then at the opposite end of the pole we have the archetype Lilith, which is more of a dominant feminine. So essentially how this energy plays out within the human feminine energy is that very submissive feminine energy, the Eve embodiment, when someone is operating more towards that scale, they are going to be someone who is more receptive and open to their environment, whilst the Lilith energy is going to be more domineering over their physical realm environment. So this is going to be more of a beguiling type of energy, which is why Lilith is the counterpart of Satan, because beguiling energy is in betwixt the 5D, all that is, and the 3D ego. So this is sort of the conduit. So when we're primarily focused, because we're going to speak about Lilith energy here, if Eve energy comes through at another point, maybe I'll make a video on that, but I just added the Eve energy because it is the opposite end of the spectrum in regards to divine feminine energy. So Lilith energy is going to be feminine energy still, but more assertion over their physical realm environment. What do I mean by that? So this is essentially what I'm thinking of. If you're familiar with tarot, the archetype of the high priestess, Eve would be the archetype of the Empress, and that just came to me now, so do with that as you may. With Lilith energy being the high priestess, this is someone who is in that feminine state of energy where they are receptive to their environment and they are intuitive and they can see what's going on, but they will have more of a hypnotic, suggestive influence over their environment versus the pole of Eve, which is just going to sort of be that more laid back, letting things flow. This is where the Lilith energy comes in and can sometimes be referred to as like a consort of Satan type of energy, because it is allowing the environment to unfold, but it's also hypnotically seducing its environment based on what it knows intuitively. So this is more of an assertion, which is why it is still feminine energy, because it's receptive and open to what's going on around it. It's not trying to control everything like a masculine stereotypical energy would. It's open and receptive, but it's also enchanting its environment because it knows something that perhaps whatever or whosoever is placed in front of it might not see. From that higher perspective, it can seduce and it can charm its way into allowing the third dimensional plane to bend to its whim. So this is why Lilith energy is considered more masculine. So this is the energy of the subconscious mind. Let's say we have the subconscious mind, we have Eve over here, we have Lilith over here. This is the spectrum, the end of the spectrum, where someone is just going to allow things to let it flow. They'll let things unfold. They'll be like, okay, well, I know this is what's going on, but they are not in the state of awareness where they are going to believe that they have the power to influence their environment. They're sort of just like, okay, and remember, we're talking about energy. Everyone can influence their own environment, but for just the easiness of explaining this, we're just going to say that the subconscious mind, the feminine aspect, if it's leaning more towards Eve, it's just sort of like a, okay, I'll go with this, whatever will be, will be. Whereas the opposite end of the pole, the Lilith energy, is gonna sense what's coming as well, because it is feminine energy, so it can be suggested too. But Lilith energy is going to, oh, you suggest that to me, okay, and they're gonna manipulate the suggestion that is being brought forth to it, if that makes sense. So with the Lilith energy embodiment of the divine feminine archetype in comparison to the Eve energy, this is still feminine, it's receptive, it's open to the environment, but it's saying, I will not allow this to unfold in the way that I see it unfolding. I'm going to sit and influence it, not necessarily by a physical action, but by my own state of being, which is going to suggest to that suggestion. Now I am projecting onto the suggestion my suggestion. So that's why I am seeing this as an embodiment of the High Priestess, because the High Priestess doesn't exert physical effort. The High Priestess is just sitting there, and typically she is pictured in betwixt the columns of Jachin and Boaz. Don't know how to pronounce them, but there you go. And so it's just sort of this embodiment of someone sitting in the state of, I am open to receiving all, but if I do not like that, then I am going to suggest to it what I want as well, which is why we have the area of ambiguity with the High Priestess, where it's sort of like, well, I see what's coming at me, but I know that I have the ability to change it, but I might in this moment be able to better influence my environment if I utilize my energy to suggest my environment of what I want. So it's not going to be necessarily like the Magician, where, and 4D energy, Satan, Lilith, all of that, I mean, if we want to lump them together, that's like Magician type energy, okay? But Magician energy, because it is masculine in nature, whereas the High Priestess Lilith energy is more feminine in nature, what we're going to have is the Magician is going to be utilizing their physical tangible things in congruence with their knowings and with their own projections and what they want to see, right? They're going to also be utilizing and manipulating physical objects, whereas the High Priestess Lilith energy is still that masculine assertion where I'm open to this, but I'm not going to do anything physically, right? I'm just going to hypnotically suggest as well. So Lilith energy can be beguiling, if we want to, I don't know why that word keeps coming up, but there it is. If we want to keep going with that statement, beguile essentially means to tempt and to enchant, and it's more of an energy, you can look up the exact definition if you want, but it's somewhere along those lines where it's like, it's seducing, but it's not seducing in a physical way. Whereas the Magician energy is going to, well, here you go, here's the chalice, drink from it. This is going to be different than Lilith energy of hypnotic suggestion, trying to mold their physical realm environment. This is going to be, what would happen if you were to drink from that chalice? Why would you think that I'm suggesting anything to you? I merely asked a question and you took it the way you wanted to take it. It's going to be more of sort of like a fluid where there happens to be a chalice, but no one is offering a toast, like here, toast to this, and then meanwhile they have their own little potent brew inside the chalice, which is meant to influence the other, right? This is more of like, here's a chalice, do you want to drink from it? What would happen if you were to drink from it? It's a totally different type of will. So it's feminine because it suggests without exerting physical suggestive effort. Whereas if we want to take a look even at the masculine energy in itself, masculine, that conscious mind, this is willful, this is dominating, this is force. This can be force through any which way, but typically a masculine energy, no matter what is going on in their inside, what they're going to want to do is still do something, do anything in their physical realm environment to solidify it. Whereas the feminine aspect, the Lilith energy, is absorbing and taking in what's going on, but they're also transmuting it into a way where you're trying to beguile me, but maybe I'll beguile you, but you're not even gonna know that I beguiled you because I'm just radiating my energy of what I want you to do, but you can't see that. That's why the High Priestess has this ambiguous, sort of like shrouded, veiled energy when we're talking in the context of tarot, because the High Priestess, like, she's just sitting there like because you can sit still and be in that Lilith aspect of the feminine energy and as well assert dominance over the situation. Whereas an Eve energy or more of an Empress energy, they're just sitting there content. They're like, everything is beautiful and plentiful and wondrous, and oh, well, I sense something is gonna happen, but you know what? I'm here, I'm just gonna let it flow and see how it plays out. That's more of like an Empress archetype. And I am not too familiar with like Eve or Empress energy, so I don't want to speak too much about it, but that's just like in the shortest way I can describe it as compared to a Lilith energy. A Lilith energy is going to be receptive and open to the environment, but they are also going to hypnotically suggest and tweak upon things that they sense, but they're going to tweak those things in a way where nothing tangible is going to occur. It's going to be all on the inside. So that's what I got for you today with that little breakdown of the energy of Lilith. I am Oculus, the alien next door, and we will chit chat again soon.